Cimoooooooo! What's going on, guys? It's Cimo, and today I decided to bring to you a very impromptu April 1st, 2015 Burning Abyss deck profile. Now, there's a really funny story to this. I was going to my locals yesterday, and when I got there, I was there almost right when they were about to start, and I missed out on the fact that we decided that we were going to play new format, and so my deck was still catered to old format, so I had to tutor my deck to the new format in a matter of 3 minutes, and I did that to the best of my ability with what I had on me, and I ended up going undefeated, so it was actually really cool. So I thought I would go ahead and make the deck profile, discuss some of the theory, a little bit of the matchups, and yeah, let's just go ahead and get right into it. So, of course, we're going to have the one tour guide, since obviously tour guide is no longer at 3 for April 1st. This being hit to 3 is not actually that, or rather hit to 1, I'm sorry. This getting hit to 1 is, it slows down the deck a little bit, but Burning Abyss is still very capable of doing lots of plays. You just play a little bit of a heavier monster count to kind of make up for it, and you can still make Dante turn 1 usually like almost every game. Like, I did not have any issues making Dante whatsoever. So the one tour guide's cool, and usually if you do your plays right, you're gonna get tour guide by turn 2 because you're gonna send Scarm off to get tour guide for your next play. Tour guide's more of like your power play now, which is kind of cool, and it came in really handy. So tour guide's tour guide. So on top of that, we're gonna have 3 Scarm. You know, this should be fairly standard. I'm not gonna really talk about these. 3 Graph, 3 Seer, 3 Farfa, 3 Rubik, and then for the one-ofs, we have an Alec, a Kagna, a Calcab, and a Libic. Now, the only change I really made last second was I put in this Calcab, which wasn't even mine. A friend of mine actually gave it to me last second because I wanted to have at least a little bit of a higher monster count than I had been playing. But other than that, the monster count is fairly solid for this. This actually wraps up all the monsters for the deck. The Alec was so good in being able to just do Acid Golem plays. Kagna was key in dumping the Fire Lake. Calcab, I really only used him one time. I actually foolished him to bounce my opponent's back row before I did my play to go off, and I think I took the game in that turn. And Libic's really good for the same reason, just being able to special summon. So in terms of moving forward for this format, I don't know. I would probably swap out the Calcab for maybe like a second Alec, maybe a second Libic. I'm not sure. I really would have to play around with it, but I was fairly happy with the monster lineup. It was actually pretty good, so I'm not going to complain too much about that. So let's go ahead and get into the spells. We had 3 copies of Mask Change Second. Now, obviously, Burning Abyss pretty much has to play the Dark Law build right now. Because it's just so good against Necros, because Dark Law is just such a pain in the ass for Necros to deal with, and this card was so clutch. I mean, this in Dark Law is just absolutely insane. Being able to trigger off your Burning Abyss effects, if you do it correctly, you can actually make it so that you don't really take like a -2, you can do it so that you get your Scarm Search, and it's really good. I would not play less than this. 3 is absolutely critical right now. And the only other 3 spells I played were a Book of Moon, Foolish Burial, and Regeki. Book of Moon is still one of my favorite spells this format. It does so much. Foolish is obvious, just mainly because you can dump anything, so it's like another one of any of your Burning Abyss cards. And Regeki is just so good for board clearing. I cleared so many strong boards with Regeki during the tournament that it was pretty unreal. But yeah, so that's going to be for the spell lineup. Only 6 spells, and I feel like that's really all that I needed. I was siding in Dark Hole a lot, so I might actually consider mainboarding the Dark Hole as well. Now, the trap lineup is going to be fairly heavy, so we're going to start it off with 3 copies of Mind Crush. I still feel that Mind Crush is an incredibly powerful card this format. Just every deck, Necros, Burning Abyss, Cleese, really any deck just searches so much, and just having the ability to just knock out any card that you want out of their hand, and getting all the information from their hand is just so key. One of the best plays of the tournament, it was against Cleese, it was in round 4. he was gonna set up, it was a very long grindy game, and he pendulum summoned all of his monsters, and he was main decking towers. I blindly mind crushed and called towers and forced the towers out of his hand, and everyone was watching the match and they all went ape shit, because that was basically like the only thing. If he just got towers on board, the chances of me winning were going to be very slim. So the fact that I mind crushed the towers out of the hand was absolutely insane. So 3 copies of Mind Crush. It's an amazing card. Then we have 2 copies of Breakthrough Skill. Yeah, my little ulti and then my common one, you know, drives me nuts. But in any case, I feel like Breakthrough Skill is really good right now for a couple of reasons, especially in Burning Abyss. First off, if you mill it, you can still use it, and that's really good for stopping things like Unicore, because Unicore will negate your Dante's effects and so forth. So being able to stop Unicore for a turn is really vital. This also stops Trish. It stops so many good things that I would even consider even moving this potentially up to 3, because it helped me in so many instances. I stopped Manju from getting the search, and that actually kept his hand. It forced the Necros player into playing a really awkward hand because he couldn't get that one search. Breakthrough Skill is just incredible at the moment. Then I played 2 copies of Mirror Force. I wish I could say a lot about Mirror Force, but I only really cleared, I think, 1 or 2 boards with Mirror Force. Like, it wasn't really, like, anything... I feel like I would have won the game regardless of if I had this card or not, but I still really like it. Just having the ability to completely clear the board, and a lot of people don't really expect it. Like, when I did it to the first guy, he was like... he just was totally flabbergasted at the fact that I flipped a Mirror Force. So, yeah, I really don't know what to say about Mirror Force at the moment. Then we have 2 copies of Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. I really, again, similar to Mirror Force, I really didn't see this card a whole lot, so I can't really comment on it, but it's still such an incredible card, being able to turn your opponent back a turn, especially if you're ahead. Phoenix Wing Wind Blast is still really good, but like I said, I can't really comment on it because I didn't really draw it, really. So then for the one-ofs, we have Bottomless, Compulse, Fire Lake, Torrential, and we're gonna have Vanities for the last one. So, what do I have to say about these? Bottomless is actually really good right now, since the game is a little bit slower, and Bottomless can just stop a really fair amount of things that are really good. I thought the Bottomless was really powerful. Compulse I actually brought back in. Now, we saw Compulse kind of move out of the format, but again, I feel like the format is slightly slowing down with the new list, especially now that Vanities and Skill Drain are off. They actually did a lot of they put in a lot of work, surprisingly. Fire Lake, I only run 1 copy of Lake because I feel like Lake's only good in certain matchups. So the Lake is kind of like, meh, it's good if you can resolve it early, but if not, it doesn't really do a whole lot. But if anything, you can pitch it for Virgil. I would probably only recommend running 1. If you want to run more, be my guest, but again, it's kind of really hard to resolve it. A lot of people know how to play around it now, but if you're ahead, it helps you just seal a game. Torrential's really interesting. Torrential, I feel like, is going to make a comeback, because the amount of boards I just utterly wiped with Torrential today was insane. Like, I thought Mirror Force was going to do that, but Torrential was, like, the MVP. Against my Necros match, he had a board of Manju, Unicore, and Valkyris, and when he summoned the Valkyris, I Torrentialed his entire board, and he had nothing left but to search out mirror spells by banishing his cards. He had no other cards in hand, and I proceeded to OTK him on the next turn. So it was just incredibly powerful. And especially since all of your Burning Abyss monsters get triggered if they're destroyed, so it's like you lose nothing, essentially. Vanity's Emptiness, you know, it's down to 1. I still feel like it's really good. It's just helpful in sealing down boards. I actually might have only flipped it once or twice today, but for what it was pretty good. I don't even know if it's entirely necessary right now that it's at 1. I feel like it's kind of more of a win more card, and since usually you're going to mill for Dante and just get rid of it on your turn anyway, it's almost like I wish it was something else. But that's going to be it. That's the 40-card main deck for Burning Abyss. Now, for the extra deck. The extra deck's a little bit interesting. We have, for my fusions, 2 copies of Darklaw and Koga. Now, I went into Darklaw so many times today, it was pretty ridiculous, but obviously Darklaw is incredible, we all know this. Koga's in here solely for the out to towers, which is when I was explaining before, I would have only like a 2% chance of beating that Clifford player if he got towers out. There was another instance where my Virgil got threatened. It was in a different match. I don't remember which one, but I mass changed into Koga right then, and my Virgil was about to get taken by 101, and so by doing that, the materials got burned off of the 101, and it was really cool. So having the Koga to kind of have an out to, like, getting Virgil, like, disrupted, even though Virgil's still going to go away, it's still kind of cool to still have a monster on board from that. So that's going to be it for the fusions. Then for the synchros, 2 copies of Virgil. I actually made Virgil twice against the Klee player because I made Virgil once, and then he did something to it, and then I actually had the ability to make a second one, and that was really good because I got to spin back his sacrifice and just proceed to just completely just destroy his board. I had the MST for the Scout, and it was so good, but Virgil's incredible. And then for the Xyz, we have obviously Triple Dante. Everyone wishes they could play more than 3 of this, but gotta do what you gotta do. Dante's still incredible as always. Only 2 copies of Downward Magician, mainly because I didn't have a third, but I didn't really go into it a whole lot. I went into it a few times, but not enough where it really warranted playing 3. And then for the 1-ofs, we have 1 Alucard, which I went into a few times. Mech-Quipped, which I surprisingly didn't use at all. Acid Golem I went into a few times. Nightmare Shark, I think I Nightmare Sharked for game 3 times. And Zen Mains, which surprisingly I actually went into a few times. So overall, I used all of my extra deck, which was pretty good. Other than the Mech-Quipped, which I'll usually go into a lot, yeah, I used every part of my extra deck, and that's usually what I want to see with an extra deck. I want to be able to have, or at least use everything throughout the length of a tournament. And to quickly go through my side, we have 2 copies of Max C. I originally built this side deck not thinking that we were going to be playing new format, and it's local, so I kind of don't really know what to expect in a lot of things. So the Max Cs were in here kind of just for Rogue or anything in general. I ended up siding in maybe a couple times. 2 Spell Cancelers for Necros. Never saw it. I sided it in for my Necros matchup, but it was irrelevant. 3 Mystical Space Typhoons. And I can just throw Twister in here, I guess, as well, because that was pretty much for my Klee matchup. It pretty much did what it was supposed to do. Wasn't really expecting to play Klees, but I had that for it, so I was happy. The 1 Dark Hole, I actually think I'm going to start mainboarding it because Dark Hole and just the board wiping capability is just, oh my god, it can just totally shift the game back into your favor. Then for the traps, 2 copies of Iron Wall. This was for the Necros matchup. Also, Ritual Beasts or Infernoids, since Infernoids are this deck's worst matchup. And it also really stops Necros because they can't banish for their mirrors. They can't banish for Valk. And they can't also banish you with Trish, so it's actually kind of cool. Iron Wall has a lot of utility. It's a continuous spell, which I kind of hate because, or continuous trap rather, because you can't really do a whole lot, or you can't special summon. It kind of locks you out of that, but it really can slow them down at the proper time, especially if you have Tour Guide, then it's irrelevant if you have this card or not. 2 copies of my favorite card, Mischief of the Gnomes. This is for the BA Mirror. This card can utterly wreck the Burning Abyss Mirror. If you can get it off, they literally cannot do anything for an entire turn. Like, it is hilarious. So this is my favorite card. It's so good. My second copy of Fire Lake, which I side in mainly for Klees or anything else that just pretty much isn't like meta, since Fire Lake just totally wrecks it. And my 15th card was actually Snatch Steel, which I can show you, but since it was new format, I wasn't aware of that, so I just flipped it around in my extra deck and just never used it. So I was playing also with a 14-card extra deck. Pretty funny, but yeah, that's going to be it for that. Quickly, just to go through my matchups, round 1 was against Infernity Hero, which was actually pretty fun. He created some pretty unbreakable boards, but I managed to get through them, so I was pretty happy about that. Round 2 was against Blackwings, new Blackwings with their new support, and it was actually pretty cool. Some of the new Blackwing support is really good, but I managed to 2-0 him as well. Round 3 was against like some sort of like ninja deck that just like abuses Hanzo, and like it had like trap tricks in it, and it was making just all these like crazy things. And that was actually a really intense match. It went into time, which was pretty crazy, but I ended up winning 2-1. Round 4 was against Cleese, which game 1 I won on like turn 2. Game 2 he made towers, and I had no way to get over it. And then game 3 was when I mind crushed towers out of his hand, and I proceeded to win with Nightmare Shark actually. So it was pretty epic. And then my round 5 was against Necros. And Necros, it was so incredible. Game 1, I took it because he made a misplay. Game 2, he ended up just going nuts on me. Game 1 was when I torrentialed him too, so that's pretty much why I won. Game 3 then was absolutely crazy because he went and did his whole turn 1 thing. He used Valk, cleared his board, drew a couple cards, and then he just passed. And I was thinking, I had the OTK in hand because I opened the tour guide. And I'm like, if he doesn't have Valk, I have game right now. And so I proceeded to make my whole board. I had double Dante, I had a Graph, and I had Master Change second in hand. And so I was thinking I can bait out the Valk if I attack with the Graph, and then I can send the Graph to get out the Dark Claw if he does. And when I went to attack with the Graph, he's like, if you have Master Change second, you win. And I showed it to him, and he's like, that's game, good game, man. He had no Valk in hand because he used everything on his turn and didn't end with Valk in hand. So I was just flabbergasted. Like, that's the power of Tour Guide right there. So that's gonna be it for this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Go ahead and just leave down any feedback or anything in the comments that you just want to talk about. Burning Abyss is still alive and well. With Tour Guide at 1, you know, it can still do a lot of cool things. And I'm really excited to see how I'm going to further evolve this deck for the new format. So, thank you all so much. We'll see you next time.